everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 24 Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Taryn Armstrong, and I am here tonight hosting this podcast, the one where we talk about everything from the Big Brother 24 live feeds, and we rate the players in what we call the Stock Watch from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game. With me tonight to talk through it all is Aman. How you doing, Aman?
I'm great. Glad to be back. I didn't think I'd be back this soon on the roundtable because I feel like my ratings are usually so potent and full of effery. But, you know, hey, look, the Stock Watch is looking going to be interesting tonight. So I'm excited to be back.
Sometimes the ratings need some potency and some effery. And so to deliver is Aman. Also with us tonight is, wait, hold on. That's not right. This Maggie?
Hi. Hi, everybody. I got a last minute call to come in. I'm not the same background. I'm not at my place. I didn't even bring my mic with me. So apologies if the audio is a little funky, but I'm here. I'm making it work. Okay, great. I'm like on a little vacation. I didn't even bring any makeup. So I've got my glasses disguise on. I'm ready to go to chat with everybody about these crazy players this week.
Man, no makeup. So how arrogant. Just like Taylor would probably do. Unbelievable.
We're connected there, you know?
Melissa unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. She got held up at work. So so instead we've got Maggie with us. And we're Maggie's she's gonna do great.
I'm a bad boy.
What? Why would you say that? I don't know where that came from.
You know what Aman said? Like his ratings are very full of effery and like very potent. And I feel like you can say that about a lot of stuff that's been going on this week. I think Terrence would probably agree with you. So I just feel like there's like so much for us to get into. I've been, marinating on my scores all day. I'm ready to go. I'm excited to talk some of this through with you guys because it's been a minute since I've like talked through the strategy of the season. So I'm ready.
Well, we are, of course, again here to talk through everything happening here on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. I also sent out a survey on Twitter at Armstrong Taryn. If you are interested in filling it out, there's still time. You've got about 20 minutes to go to the Twitter, click the link, fill out the survey, and you can rate the players yourself, rank them from your favorite to your least favorite, and all kinds of good stuff here in the survey. But how should we go about this? We've got a whole week to talk about. Michael won the HOH, and there was a lot of talk of potentially breaking up the leftovers, that perhaps the expiration date had finally arrived on these leftovers. But over the course of the week, Michael is also going to win the veto. And when the other side, aka Jasmine in particular, and Terrence, really push heavily that Monty should stay on the block and go home, it assuaged Michael's fears that Monty might have those people in his back pocket, as he had been claiming for the previous days, and decided, you know what? Daniel's fine. He can go. And so Michael did not use the veto. And as of right now, Daniel will be going home on Thursday. And the leftovers have a new renewed sense of loyalty and freshness to the food in the leftovers. That's kind of the overall story of the week here, Aman.
Yeah, it was interesting. A little intrigue. I feel like it's healthy for alliances to sort of have to go through a bit of a testing phase, especially when they come together under circumstances in which the leftovers have. I know that Twitter was very concerned about whether or not Daniel would be the next pre-juror, because we just wanted this coveted, perfect pre-jury of Redacted out of this house, then Pooch out of this house, then Amira out of this house, then Nicole out of this house, and now rounding out with Daniel. Oh, like it doesn't get any better. We're getting it, and I'm so happy about it. It's amazing news.
Yeah. It's an interesting sort of roller coaster that we went on this week, as we talked a lot about last week about how, although I don't know that we really were able to discuss it too much on the roundtable, but basically Kyle pitched to Michael, let's form a new kind of group, essentially. Monty and Joseph are too tight. Kyle makes a final two with Turner. And then pitches to Michael, let's pull in Alyssa and make our own kind of crew here to ride to the end with, because I don't want to go to the 7 with the leftovers. I don't think that's a great place for me. Now, for Kyle, it's really not that bad. I mean, he's in a really good spot once they hit 7, especially with this Turner final 2. For Michael, it's pretty bad. But Kyle, he thinks he can do better, because if he can also squeeze Alyssa in, things look even better for him. So that's kind of the direction that things seemed to be heading in, except he then stumbled all over himself and then said, Alyssa, why did you do that? And now the group seems to have there's a halt that's been put on the group here, a halting hex, Maggie.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's so interesting because this new group that Kyle formed, like, really was only helpful, like, was not even the best thing for him. Having Alyssa be involved was a good thing for him, but then, we see as the week goes on, like, Alyssa is so messy. Like, Alyssa is the messiest player in this house by far, bar none. And, like, we're talking about some of them where, like, Jasmine is bringing a cane into the pool, okay? And Alyssa still is messier than her. And so I think that the biggest issue that Kyle is having currently is that he wants to work with, sorry, I'm seeing that perhaps I'm a little low, so I'm going to adjust my mic volume up here. He wants to work with Alyssa, but Alyssa is like a game destroyer. Like, she can't be trusted with any information. She's leakier than a sinking ship. And it's making it difficult for Kyle to maneuver the way that he wants to. And yeah, I have so many thoughts. Like, if we go through, I'm sure we'll do this during the scores, but like the way that this new group would benefit each individual player, we can talk about that. But it's also really just, today when I was listening to the update and I was listening to you talk about this twist ending, I was like, what is the season without this twist? Like, the idea that right? Two people could be next to each other. We haven't seen that since week 1 or week 2. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, when all of this, breaks apart. And obviously Kyle's trying to set up for that, but it just got messy and I think really backfired on him this week.
Yeah, it's been strange. It's been a strange week where a lot of people are just kind of tripping over themselves and putting themselves into bad positions. But by the end of the week, in terms of the state of the house right now, you have the leftovers, and then outside of the leftovers, you have what has been dubbed the convenience store.
It's so shady. It's so deliciously shady. I love it.
Yeah, and Alyssa may be messy, but Michael's messy for that one. Michael, that's messy, and I love it.
So in the convenience store are Jasmine, Terrence, Daniel, Indy, and Alyssa. Now, Daniel is, has one foot out the door, and Alyssa's not really with that group in any significant way. Indy is, barely with them. It's really just Jasmine and Terrence right now. But the other side doesn't really know that.
Can I just say one thing? Wow, did the leftovers kill it when they decided to get rid of Amira? They just like, what a win. The fact that nobody got a 10 that week, I do think is blasphemous, because looking back, like, oh, they sailed into jury because they got rid of Amira. Amira's the only person on that side with half a brain. And like, Amira actually did have the ability to figure it out. And wow, did they just A+ move. That is the move of the pre-jury to me, that they were able to get, like, cut off the head of the snake and get rid of Amira, because everybody is just scattered and run around like rats running into walls. It's fantastic.
Very much so. They really have not been able to figure out which way is forward here. And it is pretty bad. Now, I will give them this. Even if they could figure out which way was forward, it wouldn't matter because of the twist. But that doesn't change the fact that they are really lost in this house. So that's the convenience store. And again, like, there's really no solid foundation to it. Terrence is, really just going down with the Daniel ship and doing everything he can to keep Daniel around, which is not going to work. Jasmine is trying to work with Terrence to keep Daniel, which is also not going to work. But I don't know if there's going to really remain, there's not really going to be much of a relationship there once Daniel leaves between Jasmine and Terrence. It's really an alliance of convenience. And so that's weird. Then, Jasmine has this, she kind of like tries to run the Alyssa and Indy group, but
LOL tries to run.
But like,
Jasmine?
Indy... Yeah.
Jasmine is like, she goes to the convenience store and picks out a bunch of stuff, and like, her total's $12, and she hands the guy behind the counter a 20 and leaves without taking her change. Like, that's the best analogy that I can give for Jasmine's role in the convenience store alliance.
Yeah, and she also makes sure to tell everybody about it. Like, yeah, I didn't even need that. $8. Not a big deal, but but Indy's not even like locked into this group because it's not a group. She really will just kind of like go where the wind blows her. And then Alyssa is more with Kyle than anything else. The only problem is that Kyle won't tell her what to do, so she's finding herself just following what Jasmine tells her what to do instead. And then Kyle gets mad at her for doing what Jasmine tells her what to do, and he won't tell her what to do. And so that's the other. There's no structure to it whatsoever. No. But within the leftovers, there is some intrigue, because if you're just counting the leftovers, you have a situation where basically, if they went down to 7, the situation is it's Monty and Joseph versus Michael and Brittany, with Kyle, Turner, and Taylor in the middle. With Kyle and Turner kind of being in the better spot because they're more insulated within both the Pound and the Michael Brittany side of things, as well as having a final 2 with each other to support themselves. Taylor has that spot in the middle, but less insulated right now, although she's kind of getting there with the connection to Joseph and the Michael and Brittany connection. A little bit less so than Kyle, though, and doesn't have that backup of having a final 2 with another person who is in the middle. But that's kind of the basic structure of the leftovers. So obviously for Monty and Joseph and for Michael and Brittany, they should be looking to not go to 7 because that's not a great place for either of those pairs. As of right now, though, nobody's really looking too hard at breaking things up, because Michael, even though he thought about it, decided against it, and has no current plans of like actively turning, although I do think he will take an opportunity when he can. From Monty and Joseph's point of view, I think they have too much confidence in the Pound, and that's probably what's keeping them from thinking of other solutions within the leftovers. And so from Monty and Joseph's point of view, Monty's just kind of chilling, not doing much in terms of game talk. Joseph is running around doing everything, but doesn't, again, seem to intend to use any of those connections to actively work against the leftovers, whereas Kyle and Michael are definitely still scoping out Alyssa as somebody to pull in and maybe take shots when the opportunity presents itself. So that's kind of where things stand with these alliances and these groups.
Yeah, I was catching up on clips from the feeds last night, and I got to see a little bit of what Joseph had been doing running around, and I was of the belief that he might be the strongest player this season, just for the sheer willingness to go around and be in conversations with almost everybody. But I do think that I think that you have to sort of like look past your alliance, and I do think that there are things that are happening that could potentially make him a little bit more on the safe side, building things with Taylor and still building individual relationships with everyone in the leftovers. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. I feel like their loyalty to the leftovers, I mean, on one hand, is very warranted because they've been able to control the vote for the past what's going to be 3 weeks. And so it doesn't really, in their mind, I feel like it doesn't really behoove them to really stray too far from that now because, there's Jasmine left, there's Indy left, there's Terrence left. Like we're going to be good as long as we hunker down. But I tend to believe that if you have the mindset to pull Taylor in, start the leftovers, get Amira up out of here, then eventually next week, especially when the twist ends, you're going to have the mindset to be like, Michael's winning a ton of comps. We might need to do something about that. So I'm very interested to see what happens next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that could happen for Joseph's game is that he actually gets into a showmance with Taylor and locks in that relationship. And then with that relationship says, sorry, Kyle, or sorry, Michael. One of the two. One of the two has to go. These two are way too dangerous to be left alone for too long because they will take the shot before 7, and that shot will land on Monty or Joseph. And so that is a bad place to be. I think that Joseph has the tools available to him between his relationships that he's developed with Jasmine and Terrence and them at this point, and Indy, and a potential showmance with Taylor to pull her completely away from Michael and Brittany. The tools are there. It's just a matter of using them. And as of right now, he doesn't seem interested in using them. He is giving all of the information to the leftovers. And, that, of course, gives them the ability to throw him under the bus if they need to in the future. So some interesting stuff in terms of where things could develop from here.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. And I'm going to say that for one, we rate Joseph because I have a ton of stuff to say about Joseph. I'm very intrigued and have lots of opinions.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the player rankings, I should say, in terms of favorite to least favorite. Do we have any guesses? Who has taken the top spot on the survey for audience's favorite player?
I mean, I think there's really only 3 options here. One of them is super obvious in Taylor, obviously. But I think the other 2 could easily be either Joseph or Turner. Turner has been entertaining the hell out of the live feeders this past week, entertaining Michael. Like, it's been such a delight to see him employ these antics. These are the type of antics that we want to see, okay? Not the crap that James Hewling will be doing. This is the kind of stuff. This kind of psychological warfare, that's what we want to see. So I really feel like Turner may have snuck his way up there. I think it's Turner.
I think it's Taylor.
It is Taylor. Taylor, for the second week in a row, has the top spot. Last week, it was by a very slim margin. This week, by a much more significant margin. Taylor, number 1.
I'm filling in for Melissa. I got to be the voice of the people here.
There it is. Do we have guesses on number 2 and 3?
I think 2 is Michael.
Well, yeah, now that the audience has said Taylor, it makes me want to agree that it's Michael, but I'm going to say Turner instead, again.
It's Michael.
Yes.
All right, who's number 3 then? Who's got the number 3 spot?
I'm going to say Turner for number 3.
I've been burned twice before by picking Turner. And Burn me, baby, one more time. I think it's Turner.
It is Turner. It's Taylor,
Yeah.
Michael.
Can you
and
imagine
Turner.
if I had said like Joseph or something? Oh my god.
Okay, who's got the bottom spot?
Kyle.
Is it
Based
Kyle
on who takes the poll.
or is it
I think it's
Daniel?
Make a
I mean,
choice.
Kyle definitely has he's done a lot this week. Yeah. I'll go with Kyle.
You both picked Kyle. The answer was Daniel.
Oh, I should have went with my first inclination.
I mean, honestly, I just thought people would like forget a little bit since Daniel's been irrelevant in the house, but maybe not. Nobody can ever forget.
He's still running his
Elvis.
mouth every day.
Daniel he's just so
He's
toxic.
just like so irrelevant to like me personally.
He's just he's so miserable. I mean, he's on the block, so I mean, it is what it is. But like, oh my god.
All right, one more chance. Who's second to last? Your final shot.
I mean, I feel like that. Well, is there anybody else that really has messed up like Kyle?
Jasmine.
Yeah,
people really don't like Jasmine, but listen, everybody. I said this the last time I was on. Jasmine is giving us television. I mean, delusional to the max.
She's camp.
Like I saw a tweet. Oh, it's the definition of camp. I saw a tweet from somebody whose name is escaping me right now. But they were like, I'm sorry, she's perfect television. And it was her passing out, the blindside butter beans, her twisting her leg, and the cane in the pool, and the muffins. Like she's given us so much these first 5 weeks. So to say, I understand why you would rank her second to last, audience, but I cannot. So I'm going Kyle.
The cane in the pool is such an egregious offense towards nature. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I agree. I think it's Kyle.
The two of you are not tapped into the hate online.
Dang, is it
it's
Jasmine?
Terrence.
Oh well, yeah, I could see that because he is a
People didn't like his recipe.
It's all
They
week
didn't like his
long. It's
recipe
just
from this
been
week?
Daniel and Terrence trash talking constantly. I think that it has not helped. Here's the list. It's Taylor, Michael, Turner, Joseph, Brittany, Monty, Kyle, Alyssa, Indy, Jasmine, Terrence, and Daniel. So Kyle at the bottom of the leftovers, but still above the convenience store.
Yeah, the way that Terrence has been talking specifically about Taylor has been just utterly disgusting, especially for a father. Like, what are you doing,
I
sir?
found Terrence talking all over social media, like the things that have been dug up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not.
Oh my goodness!
It's not good for you, sir. It's not like. And being from Chicago, the people over there are ruthless over there, man. So.
I had to throw away a kitchen appliance due to what I saw this week. So that's all I have to say about that. Taryn, do you have a thought?
We know all about spatulas. I think that's a Mary thing, though. So Kyle dropped from 4th to 7th this week. Turner, who again started in dead last for the first 2 straight weeks of the season, is now in 3rd place, just behind Michael. The slow climb for Turner. We'll see if it continues. So there we go. Those are the favorite players this week. I asked the audience to rate the episodes this week. Last week, the episodes were given a 6.9. Which was up from the 5.2 and the 4.3. That's the episodes have been slowly climbing because this week a 7.1 for the episodes.
Good. I was gonna say, what more do you want, everybody? Our faves are winning. The people who are losing are embarrassing themselves. Like, what more do you want from the episode? We got Muffin Gate. Come on.
The feeds this week. Last week they were a 7.7. The week before that a 9.0. This week continued downward trend, but still pretty high, a 7.0 here for the feeds. And then the season as a whole so far, it's been steadily rising. 2 weeks ago, a 6.4. Last week, a 6.9. This week, a 7.2. The highest rating of the week was the season as a whole. It's higher than the episodes and the feeds. It's just the season in general has been good enough that it's laid a foundation.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving this season. I know we had a really, really rough first week, but it's like I have not been this jazzed about a season. Even last Big Brother Canada season. Exactly. I have not been this jazzed about a season. Even last Big Brother Canada season, it was like a bit more fluid than this. So at times it was a bit more difficult for me to follow. But this is like, we have the good guys and we have the bad guys. And the good guys are winning and the bad guys are embarrassing themselves. And I'm like, this is Big Brother. And there's like people who are being just like delusional all wrapped in. Like, I don't know what else I could want from a Big Brother season. This is giving like Big Brother 20 pre-jury extravaganza. Like I'm getting everything that I want from this pre-jury, minus, the terribleness of the first 8 days. But she didn't even go home. Like we got the person that we wanted to go home, like they were out. So that's what I have to say.
Oh, baby, you won't break my soul.
Please stop singing.
No, Big Brother, I would not stop singing.
I also had a new question here. I wanted the audience to rate the pre-jury phase of the season, because I do feel like, you get different phases of the season, but like the BB20 pre-jury, great phase of the season. It's pretty good. So overall, the audience gave the pre-jury phase a 7.5. Pretty good. I mean, in terms of Big Brother ratings, I feel like that's pretty up there. I don't know if it stacks up to the best of the best, but I haven't had the audience rate any of the others. So as of right now, it is both the best and the worst rated pre-jury of a season ever.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Maggie.
Oh, I just was going to say, I think something like this, like it's very hard to see the forest from the trees. I think that this is the type of thing that like at the end of the year or next season, like people are going to be able to look back on it and be like, this is the way that I feel about it. I think that sometimes it's hard, like before even the last eviction of the pre-jury, to say how you think it stacks up against all other seasons that you have like emotional connections to,
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like it's just, it just harkens back to so many of the earlier seasons where so many of the horrible people get taken out first. It's just the people that you just don't want to root for. I feel like BB20 and BB24 have great pre-juries for different reasons. I feel like BB20 was more so just the house being split, Faute being a disaster, the who flipped of it all every single week. The power shifting, it was such a good ride, and just the blind side of Rachel, it was just so good, right? Caitlyn in the puzzle, like it was just
blind side of Winston.
Yeah, it was just all over the place all the time. And for this one, it's a bit more predictable in that there's a big alliance taking people out, but we love to see it. It's just get rid of them.
The payoff, and they still like are blindsiding people. Like they're just not doing it on eviction night; they're doing it at veto ceremonies.
Yeah. Well, I asked the audience also to rate the bestie twist. This is the third week running. The first 2 weeks, the audience gave the bestie twist a 2.9 out of 10. I was very impressed with their consistency. This week, a 2.8.
What was this? I'm sorry, I missed it.
You were so close. The bestie twists, 2.8 out of 10. They were so close to maintaining a 2.9 again, but someone screwed it up. Someone gave it a 1 who didn't give it a 1 before. Yeah.
I don't want to name names, but you know who you are.
Yeah.
It's the hypocrisy. Look, it's working for the faves, so it gets a little bit of a bump.
Well, it's going down. But I also asked the audience, do you think Michael did what was best for his game as the HOH? And I was very curious to see what the response would be to this question, because The history of this is a new question. In the past, I've asked who the audience thought that they should target, but that never really resulted in much. So the history here, Daniel, 95% of the audience disagreed with what Daniel did. 64% agreed with what Jasmine did with Pooch. 99% agreed with what Turner did to take out Amira.
Yes.
90% agreed with what Monty did to take out Nicole. And 87% agree that Michael did what was best for his game as the HOH. And I don't think I agree.
I think that it's really hard, and I think that I'll get more to this when we talk about Michael, but he was in a really tricky spot this week, I think. I do think I agree, for the simple fact that had he left, we'll talk about it more when we get there, but I think that had he left Monty, Joseph, and Terrance on the block and Monty had gotten taken out, I do not think that if Monty wins HOH next week, he's going after Michael in any way. And I do think that there are people who would go after Michael, and Daniel is kind of one of them.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree that targeting Monty is the right call here. I think that you definitely want to try to remove a threat to your game, but without probably taking out anybody within the leftovers, taking that shot, probably too risky unless you can really pull it off silently. But the primary thing for me is winning this veto. He won the veto so that you'd have the option. I think the only reason to win the veto is if you plan to use the option. And I think that it was a big mistake to win this veto and then not take the shot. It was the worst of both worlds, where now he hasn't taken the shot, but he's made a bigger target of himself within the leftovers. And he's also not even really removing anybody that could be used by Joseph and Monty, because he doesn't even necessarily, although they were talking about it a little bit as this episode started, that Joseph is kind of the real threat here with the connections to Indy and Jasmine. That if taking out Indy or Jasmine or anybody else that could be used by Joseph to take a shot at Michael, versus somebody like Daniel, who, yes, not trustworthy, would definitely come for Michael, but also is a huge thorn in the side of Monty and Joseph. And they'd have to deal with him before they even thought about dealing with Michael. Again, if you're going to win these comps, you need to make sure that you're using them to the fullest extent that you can.
The only issue that I have with that, though, is Daniel is capable of winning competitions. Like, he's proven that, and he's strong, too. And if we're looking at a wall competition next week, Daniel will be up there that Michael can't compete in. Daniel could definitely win that. He won the hanging thing over Michael. And that would be my biggest worry, is that Daniel has had Michael's number since the very first week. And if
Michael as the HOH decided to intentionally not target Daniel, and Kyle is there in Daniel's ear to like reinforce, like, hey, Michael and I are with you, Monty's the big threat with Joseph, like, I don't think he takes the shot that early. And I think that even in that worst case scenario where Daniel wins, he's now taking that shot for you. And that's not a bad thing.
But I don't know that Daniel...
But you would have to survive all of the other leftovers, like, being cool with you. And I just don't think that Michael has the social chops really to smooth this over.
Well, that's the thing. I think taking the shot at Monty, he would not be able to smooth over. But I think that, targeting somebody other than Daniel, I think that's easy.
Yes, but then... if he puts up Indy, so I think that's sort of what you're saying. He should put up Indy and get Indy out because she has connections with, or Jasmine. But why would you get out Jasmine? She's terrible at competitions, and she's not good at Big Brother.
People had been talking about it. I mean, people were talking about taking the shot at Jasmine this week, and Turner was like volunteering, like, hey, I'd love to take out Jasmine. I'd love to go in the block and get her gone.
I think that the problem with all of this, though, is that Michael is getting a little too cute. And yes, you're saying that he would, like, going if he kept Daniel around, Kyle's in his ear, whatever. But Michael does not have a great relationship with Daniel. Michael doesn't like Daniel. And like Aman was saying, Michael's social chops, I'm not sure are strong enough for him to maneuver that. I think that it is just easier for him. Now he has all of this info, all of this ammunition on Kyle. If he ever finds himself in a situation where he's in danger with any of the leftovers, all he has to do is spill everything else that happened this week. And then Monte and Joseph actually don't have Daniel to deal with, and they're not concerned about Daniel. They would just take a shot at somebody like Kyle and Alyssa. Like, I feel like Michael has set himself up perfectly to shove Kyle and Alyssa in front of him and Brittany.
I don't know that would work, though.
I think that the in the Bandersnatch of Big Brother, right? Like when you're like choosing your own adventure, and Michael approaches week 4 or 5, whatever the week this is, and it's like win HOH, do not win HOH. Of course, you always want to win HOH because it's safety. You want to solidify your line. So I think great, he did that. Then it's like win the veto, do not win the veto. I think it's such a double-edged sword because you win the veto, meaning you can sweep the week and then make sure that whatever you want to happen happens this week. That sounds great on paper, but you've already won all the other damn vetoes. So like now you're putting yourself in a position where you do something that's seemingly good for your game, but are the ramifications later down the road worth it? And I'm like,
and that's the thing, Aman, is like, this is what happens though. I'm like such a big proponent in Big Brother. Like, I think this is my biggest thing about Big Brother is flexibility is key, but plant your flag and figure out what you want to do as quickly as you possibly can. Because if he had known what he wanted to do and that it wasn't going to happen before the veto, he could have thrown it to Terrence and then he wouldn't have gotten into that predicament. You know what I mean? Then the boys would have used the veto on themselves. He could have backdoored Daniel, or then there could have been a grander discussion about if he could have gone after Jasmine. But he was juggling so many things that when he had that veto, he had to decide whether or not he was going to betray the leftovers. And then that didn't really leave a ton of room for that discussion that you're talking about, Taryn, which is, okay, well, is taking Daniel out really right for me? Or can I talk to everybody and figure out a way to maneuver this so that I can get Jasmine on the block? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first mistake is winning in the first place. And what I'm saying is that he should have thrown it. Once he wins, though, I think you need to follow through and you need to actually make a play because you've shown too much here by winning this veto, and you might as well just make it as optimal a play as possible in my eyes.
I just don't know if he goes back into the fold. That's the only thing for me. I think you have to weigh the likelihood of. I think you just got to know yourself, and just based off of what I've seen from Michael over the past 5 years, 5 weeks. You're already taking a big hit by winning, and then you take an even larger hit by taking out someone that's in your leftovers alliance. Now the alliance that allows you to even win these damn vetoes in the first place with a little bit of shield around you is gonna be gone. All you have really is Brittany, and you might have Taylor. Who knows if Taylor will jump ship with Monte once, or jump ship with Joseph now that Monte is out of that. It's just
to be clear, I don't think he should take the shot at Monte. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm saying Jasmine, Indy, somebody else outside of that arena once he wins the veto. And the reason why I think that he again should have thrown this veto is that by winning the veto, yes, he was able to get information when the other side pitches that they should go after Monte, and that's able, then he's able to tell Monte, and that helps the divide there. I don't think that's as valuable as it appears right now because it's more about self-interest than it is about who pitched who at what time. But also what's happened here is that he ended up having to show his cards by using the veto and not going along with their pitch. Yeah. They now know that he's with Monte, and they are now targeting him. And these are people, Indy, Jasmine, people that were talking about how much they loved Michael just a few days ago. And even right after the veto, Jasmine was saying, well, he did say he'll still go after Monte, so I do still want to work with him. But then thinking about it,
target Jasmine, and then you're just targeting someone else that
Well,
you
that's
think is...
again, once he wins the veto, I think he's in a spot where he now should just go ahead and target Jasmine or something along those lines.
That's so right, Taryn, because I've been trying to figure out, I'm like, so last week Monty was the HOH and now everybody's after Monty. And I can see that trajectory happening with Michael. And I'm like, what could Michael have done to sort of blend back into the fold? You know, like what was great about Turner's HOH is he won HOH, he did this whole thing, and then he was able to like fade into the background. And that's what Turner's really good at. So I was trying to figure out what the issue is, and that's what it is. That's what you're talking about, Taryn. If he had let Terrence win it, then he would have been like, oh no, what can I do? Too bad. But this took away that option, that his back was against the wall and this was his only choice. This made it very clear to everybody that he was actively choosing to do this, which meant that he was no longer with them.
Yep. So
I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I feel I'm like trying to check my bias here because I want the coveted perfect pre-jury. So I'm wondering if that's affecting how I see it. But I honestly feel like I mean the pitchforks for Daniel were very fervent, and I feel like to try and switch it up and be like, oh, well, you know, I feel like Jazz might be the better option. Why? She's on a cane in the
There was a lot of support for it, though. Taylor was like, I actually kind of want Daniel and Jury. Turner was volunteering for it. Obviously, Kyle and Brittany both would have supported it. And if, you know, they could even have, like, you know, there was still information out there like, hey, Jasmine and like Terrence still probably would have exposed the fact that he was wanting the thing to be thrown in the first place. And they can probably be like, look, those people are all together. They're trying to take out Monty. You know, this is just like the right play for us at this time. I think that, you know, I don't think that Monty and Joseph necessarily would have been like super pleased about it, but I don't think that they would have raised a huge fuss.
I don't think they raise a huge fuss either, but I do think that they are smart enough to be like, you just want him here because you want to make sure that you're, I think that they're savvy enough to know that. Yeah. And I don't know if that's any less dangerous than just getting rid of Monty. Like, I feel like regardless, once again, I think we all agree that winning the veto was, assuming he actually attempted to win, because if Terrence was doing,
it was him versus Terrence, Monty, and Joseph. Like he had multiple opportunities to throw before that final round.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that, Taryn. That's really bad. Yeah, that's
very
bad.
easy to throw unless all of them are doing. I'll be interested to see what the episode looks like on Wednesday, because unless everyone else is getting super duper unlucky, because OTEV is also one of those comps where if you don't find it, you just can't find it. And if you end up finding the right answer, you're going to look real dumb sitting there looking like, you know, I'm trying to throw this, but y'all. So I'll be interested. We'll see. But regardless, winning the veto was bad. But I don't know.
I'm interested to see, like, because I agree with you, Aman. I think that if he decided not to do Daniel, I would have been getting a little too cute. But I think I'm interested to see if Michael is going to be able to mitigate his threat level now. Like I said, I think that having all this information about what Kyle is doing and being able to have a clear picture of what Kyle's endgame looks like if he's in a position where things are not looking good for him, that is what he should be doing, is ratting out Kyle and ratting out everything that Kyle has told him. And I'm interested to see where he goes from here. And I know Kyle is a very important piece to him, but I also think that he's not just an important piece as an ally. I think he's an important piece to throw under the bus as well. And I'm interested to see where he goes.
See, I don't think he should rat Kyle. I think that would backfire on him so hard. Because he doesn't realize how much support Turner would have for Kyle, and he doesn't know about the pound. And so if he tried, I think that Kyle would be able to be like, this guy thinks he can make a move. Obviously, he's the biggest threat at 7. Obviously, he knows we're going to turn on him. Like, he doesn't know about the pound. Turner will back him up. I think it would backfire. I don't think that Monty and Joseph have any interest in going, even if they believed him. I don't think they have any interest in working with him from 7, and I think they would just rat him out to Kyle and use that to get Kyle back on their side.
I see what you're talking about, and I think that that's the hole in Michael's game, is that he doesn't have the individual relationships with all of these people to make that happen. you know? And I feel like there's a lot of dancing around that all the leftovers are doing. Like there's not enough like true solidifying of like, we're together. Like if I'm in that alliance, I'm going to every single person individually and being like, it's you and me. It's you and me. And I feel like not a lot of people are doing that. I don't understand. We'll get there I'll just wait. But that's something that I feel like is a huge hole in a lot of the leftovers game, not just Michael. I feel like there are several people who have the opportunity and really great relationships, but it's like what Rob always says, it's like you're waiting to kiss and like they just haven't gone in for it yet. And I'm like, come on, do it. Like you need this.
It's one of the reasons why Kyle, despite fumbling a lot and making a lot of mistakes, is still in one of the best positions in the game, is because he's one of the few players who's just actively having these conversations with all of the people in the alliance. And Joseph is also having these conversations, but mostly with people outside of the alliance.
Well, and he's having the conversations, but he's not putting a ring on it. Like he's like, like they're like on a date and he's like taking them to ice cream, but like he's not kissing them goodnight. And I'm like, just kiss them goodnight.
Lock it in. Taylor.
Oh my, you got that boy too shy. You wanna kiss the girl. Yeah, I agree. I feel like I feel like he made a comment the other day talking about how he felt like sort of chilling for the first couple of weeks was a smart thing. And I feel like right now he's sort of riding that line between chilling and actually playing and trying to figure out when to exactly kick it into high drive. So it's interesting watching him straddle that.
Yeah, there's definitely more to say about Joseph once we get to that rating. But I also asked the audience, how do you feel about the Kyle and Alyssa showmance? I was wondering, I wanted to track this. I almost, that's a one. That's a one noise. That's we're not rating the showmance. I almost put in a jailer thing, but I decided they're not actually a showmance yet, so they can't get on the board until they showmance it up. But last week, 14% said hashtag Kylissa forever, and 86% said hashtag just say no. This week, I wanted to see if the showmance fan base would build over time. No, it didn't. 8% are hashtag Kylissa forever. Now, I did taint the results a little bit by making a joke, another joke in the other option, but 92% were hashtag just eat a muffin instead.
The fact that Kyle's mother is really out here hashtagging just say no as if Alyssa is some sort of controlled substance is really sending me.
I mean, it's like we've discussed this before, but it makes you understand Kyle a little better, I think.
Oh, for sure. Like I said the last time we talked about this, get it in while you can, girl.
My only thought about all of this, well, I actually have many thoughts, but the only thing that I'm going to say is when I was 15 years old and boys were talking about how horny they were as like a fun light joke, I didn't enjoy it. And at 27 years old, I enjoy it even less, especially when the man is 30. So that's what I have to say about that.
You don't like it when they say this?
I'm just too horny, dude.
No.
This and then when you tell them you love them and they say,
"That's what's up."
You're not into it?
You know, sweet, like I just hope for Kyle. I just hope for Kyle. That's all that I'm going to say. I just hope for him. You know, yeah.
I'm a bad boy.
All right. I asked the audience, who do you want to be evicted this week? 86% said Daniel.
Yes. Get him out of here.
And for like the fifth week running, pretty much, 50% of the audience wants Taylor to win the following HOH. They've wanted it for so long. Give us a Taylor HOH.
I need it. I need to watch her experience Beyonce's 7th studio album on the live feeds. I need to see her get her life to that. That is going to be the thing that lifts her up. Like, oh, I just need to see it happen. I need to.
Give it to us.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
I need her to hear Alien Superstar.
Yes, I need her to hear Cozy. I need her to hear Alien Superstar. I need her to hear everything.
Classic on the Furniture.
Yes.
All right.
Terren's like, yeah, agreed. He has no idea what we're talking about.
I'm super excited for the Aliens. Yep.
It's a great song. You should listen.
I think I listened to one.
You listened to it. You said you listened to Break My Soul. You said you liked it.
Yeah, it was good. Anyway, are we ready for some ratings?
Yes.
All right.
So funny. I feel like I was talking, like we were getting so in the weeds about the Michael decision, and I started to get self-conscious, and I was like, oh gosh, we're talking about this too long. And then I was like, this is the round table. This is what you do on this podcast.
I loved it.
This is the whole point.
I'm ready.
Pedantry to the max. All right, here we go. This is the portion of the podcast where we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game. I tend to look at it in 3 different ways: short-term safety, long-term prospects, and just what kind of decisions did they make this week? Were they good decisions, bad decisions? What kind of game did they have? Now, the order is a little different. Mel has decided to change up the order here to shake things up a little bit. So we'll see how this goes.
The ratings are not reflective underneath of last week with the individual.
Oh, did they not? Did those not shift?
No, I was like, it has Terrence having 6s.
Whoops. Well, that's unfortunate.
That's all right. They know.
Maybe I need to do a refresh. Maybe it'll shift when I. Hey, there we go.
Yeah, awesome.
It just needed a refresh. We're good. We're good.
Like, I was actually going to rely on that a little bit because I wanted to talk about movement.
All right, here we go. Well, that means that we are going to start with the man that we have been debating over, Michael. How do we feel about Michael? Michael got straight 8s last week, and this week he won his.
Probably the straightest thing he's ever done. But
can you draw 8s with straight lines? Maybe like squares.
Yeah, totally.
I guess like on a clock, you know.
Mm-hmm. I did just want to shout out Michael's husband since his HOH letter didn't get put on the episode, which is really disappointing that everybody else's HOH letter got read and his did not. That's really disappointing. Oh,
that does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally say like more of a mistake to include the previous letters than to not include this letter. Because I don't think we really need them, but I would have I think if you're going to include anybody's letter, I think having Michael's fiance would have been really nice, especially just because like they don't have a lot of gay people on the show, and so to get that in there would have been nice, but what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let's talk about Michael. He won his 4th and 5th fourth and 5th competitions this week. I do feel pretty good about his competition ability. The only thing is that winning a bunch of comps does not mean that you're just automatically going to win a bunch of comps in the end game. We've seen time and time again that end game competitions do not usually go to the same people that were winning competitions in the first half of the game. In fact, it's usually people that kind of turn it on in the end, that more so than people who don't, especially because the competitions do tend to shift to more and more physical than they were in the first part of the game. But we'll see. It could be different this year. But in general, I don't love, again, the decision to win the veto. I really dislike. I also think that as each week passes, Michael's position gets worse because he needs to change something about the current trajectory. He cannot go to 7 with the leftovers. He is about to enter final 11. That means there's going to be 4 opportunities, 4 weeks for something to change before he takes the fall. Now, I think the best thing he has going for him is that Monty and Joseph have shown 0 indication that they have any intention of turning on the leftovers before 7 because they feel very comfortable in the pound. And that is huge for him because that gives him those 4 weeks probably. But that assumes that neither of them realize, hey, do we really need to take out Indy? Do we really need to take out Jasmine? And that's what he's afraid of. That's what Kyle's afraid of. One of the things that Kyle's afraid of. And so it puts him in a precarious position. Now, he does have some things going for him. One is that he's got Brittany, he's got Taylor. He's been talking to Alyssa. I think in particular, Michael did not seem to, and I can't, fully confirm this, but I don't think that Michael really fully fell for the idea that Alyssa is fully against him or Kyle in the way that it seemed that was going last night. He had a conversation with Alyssa just before this podcast started where it was pretty clear that Alyssa had zero intention of voting Kyle out. And her desire to work with him, as well as Kyle's desire to work with him, is basically his only way out at this point. And that is a pretty good thing for him. So he's still got time. He's still got outs. But the big target on his back is not great. I don't love the decision to use or to win the veto. And overall, I just think this was not the best week for Michael. I don't think that it's a terrible week, but I do think that he's not on the same trajectory. He's not on the same sort of like upward path that he was before. So I am going to go with a 7 for Michael. He could definitely rebound this time next week, or maybe even 2 weeks from now. He could be in a much better position. But to top it all off, this potential Joseph and Taylor showmance, if it actually solidifies, would be deadly to Michael's game, because he really needs Taylor to be on his side within these leftovers, especially now that he's lost his ability to work with Jasmine and Indy for now, and Terrence. So some bad things happened here for Michael, but he's still in a pretty decent spot overall. So it's a 7 from me. Maggie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you said. We talked it through so intensely before. And I think that the biggest reason for me that he's being brought down is that his threat level went up because he won that veto, and his options were taken away because he won that veto, because, like you said, it exposed him. But he's got incredible win equity. If he gets to the end, he has great competition ability. He's got a bunch of really good relationships that absolutely can be repaired with these people, because let's be honest, these people on the other side, they're not working with much over there, So I'm giving him a 7 because I don't think that I think that when you win HOH like this, it's very hard to wield power and not make the target bigger. And I do think that is what happened to him this week. So that's why I'm going with a 7.
All right, Aman.
Yeah, he's just he's winning too much. And in the beginning, it was out of necessity because he was on the block. So you can't really blame the guy there. But now you're sweeping weeks. That's insane. Yeah, I worry that he is just gonna be one of the first targeted in the alliance strictly because of that. I'm still wrestling with whether or not he should have tried to take out Jasmine or Indy or whoever else instead of Daniel. But I think regardless of that, everyone is going to view him the same way, regardless of what he were to do. So, yeah, I'll agree. I will give him a 7 as well.
All right. Oliver in the chat says, Terrence's winning HOH is good for your game. And I do think in general, you should be trying to win HOH. This is something that I mentioned, I think, the morning after he won his 4th veto, which is that, yes, I am absolutely the person beating on the drum that throwing competitions is vastly overrated. You should be trying to win most competitions. But there is a caveat to that everything in moderation. Exactly. When you are winning your 5th competition and everybody else has 1 max, it's time to slow down.
Eat the rich.
Exactly. And really the time to really not win a competition, in my opinion, has always been when you're HOH. Don't win the veto unless you have to, because winning, even if you've won a bunch of competitions, winning HOH and veto in 1 week, there's something about the perception of that is just really huge. Like people really just like you have had all of the power in 1 week, and that's enticing to some people, but it really sticks in people's minds.
You talk about why you think that contributed to the Pretty Boys' success in Big Brother Canada, that they couldn't, that people like Dane and Adam couldn't win the veto in the same week that they were the HOH. And I think that, it's giving a little bit of the Survivor paradox of it, where, you are the person who comes out and makes the big move and the big swing to get somebody out. And then you're the one who's out next week. And I'm not saying that it's, it's exactly like that, but Big Brother is different from Survivor because you actually have to wield power. Like you were put in a position where you have to wield power rather than sneakily stealing power. But the most important thing is being able to make clear your threat level while you are in power. And I do think that Michael is just going a little too hard.
Although, man, I sympathize with the BB super fan
of course,
in him. Because,
of course.
You want to go in there and you want to break records and you get outside in the backyard and it's OTEV and you just want to win OTEV and you just want to live out your dream. So in that respect, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. But Michael, you might if you hadn't won some of that other crap, maybe you can show out on OTEV. But then again, he had to win because he was on the block. So it's it's just not good. It's not good all around.
Yeah. Well, the audience is feeling better about Michael than we are. The audience gave Michael an 8, stayed with their 8 from last week. Although let me just take a quick gander at this. It's actually a slightly higher rating than last week from very slightly. It's basically the same in terms of the exact number, but an 8 from the audience on Michael. Let's talk about Terrance. Maggie, how do you feel about Terrance?
How do I feel about Terrance? I've been marinating on my thoughts about Terrance all week. My mind has just sort of been going wah. While I've been trying to think of Terrance. Anytime I think of Terrance, for some reason, I've just been hearing wah. I can't. But I think that the biggest thing about Terrance is that I'm always saying, plant your flag. It's my biggest thing. And Terrance planted his flag, all right. And he planted it directly with the convenience store, who has not a clue what they're doing. And he spent most of the week bad-mouthing everybody else and bad-mouthing the people who he needs if he wants to be successful in the game. He has no win equity because at this point now he's made angry and upset and genuinely hurt the feelings of the people whose votes he's going to need if he makes it to the end. I have no faith that he can win competitions. I mean, he apparently was close in OTEV and then decided to throw it and leave himself vulnerable on the block after he just saw everything that happened the weeks before. I mean, I'm talking myself into actually lower than what I was going to give him. I'm thinking maybe I should be going wah, 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 but I'm not going to because he's not on the block, okay? I'm going to go with a 2 for him.
Aman, what do you think?
Man, screw Terrance, man. He's so annoying, man. He don't do nothing but talk crap and take craps. That's all he does. That's all
and take craps
does. Yes. That's it. It's so annoying. He will go any way. Whoever he's talking to, it's an entirely different script. It's just, and on one hand, you can say, oh, it's he's doing the floater thing. Yeah, but no. I'm not giving him that grace. And I agree. I don't really see a path to the end for him other than him getting dragged. And we all know what that looks like, and it's not fun to watch. So yeah, my guy, you're down there in the 2s. I think so. I agree with him too.
Yes. Well, the audience agrees. It's a 2 from the audience. And I'll tell you, I think there's an argument to make to say that he's a 1 here. But I will go with the 2, just because there's still enough game to be played. But the fact that Terrence is probably the number 1 target going into next week. Terrence is absurd. Like, you have to work so hard as Terrence to be actively targeted above almost everybody else in the house. That is ridiculous. And he's playing so poorly. He had the ability. One of the biggest issues that the quote unquote older archetype has in the game is that they usually just aren't as capable of winning competitions and thus have trouble getting respect from the other house guests. And Terrence he had the ability to win what is seen as a relatively physical competition, to get some massive respect in the house, to win a veto when he's on the block against Monty, Joseph, Michael. Like, he had the ability to do that and instead decided to throw it in an attempt to save Daniel and didn't save Daniel. This is...
You know Daniel, the guy who voted him out 2 weeks ago?
It's ridiculous. Well, he gave him a sympathy vote. He gave him a pity vote.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I forgot about that. Daniel, who knew he was getting voted out and tried to give him a sympathy vote. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why there's a case to be made. But again, there's a lot of game to be played, and jury is just now starting. And he is not completely out of the game yet. So, he's lucky.
If I was giving Terrence a rating for his recipes, I would give him a 0. But I'm giving Terrence a rating for his role in the game, so he gets a 2. But I feel you, Taryn.
The one thing that I would try to say in his defense, just to give us a little something to think about. I mean, we know that he, as Terrence said, sometimes the older person, they have a lot of struggles, right? And it's harder to make connections with people that are younger. And so I feel like that's sort of what fuels a lot of his insecurity, especially because no one operates the way that they operate like that unless there's like a major insecurity there. And I feel like he just wants to fit in so bad. But
he was fitting in.
And that's the thing. It's like you had room there, and for whatever reason, you've extinguished it. It's so why?
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Terrence's favorite person, Taylor. Let's talk about Taylor. Aman, famously, in week 1, when she was about to be voted out, you gave Taylor a 10.
I knew.
You can't go higher than a 10, Aman. So where are you at with Taylor this week?
20. No. Yeah, I'm riding with Taylor until the end, man. Like, it's such a shame that all of the wonderful Big Brother that we are getting had to come after so much suffering on her end. But that being said, now that she has survived, and now that she has been given this life jacket in the Leftovers Alliance, I do think that she could be a little bit more proactive about establishing connections. I think that she's doing some good work with Joseph. I think that she's doing some great work with Michael and Brittany. So there's definitely insulation within the alliance for her. But I still feel like she has like this general ick of, oh, she's, the one that we're just going to pull in, but we're not really, really in bed with her yet. And I hate that. And I feel like that's really... it's not her fault. I don't think it's for her fault. I think it's just how the game got set up for her from the beginning. And so
I will push back a little bit on that with you, Aman. I agree that is how the game was set up for her in the beginning, totally. But now she not only has a great relationship with Joseph, but she also has a really good relationship with Turner. And she's one of the people that I'm talking about where like she's going on these dates and then she's not kissing them goodnight. Like, she should talk more game with Turner, because I do think that Turner would be open to talking game with her. If she, like, they talk every single night until like 4 a.m. They are great friends in the house. She has such a soft spot for him because of what he did for her in that speech. And I think he feels similarly towards her. He was openly in front of the house laughing at Daniel because he got his words that he said to Taylor thrown back in his face. And I do think that she has the opportunity to really grab hold of this, because I think that she's in one of the best positions in the leftover. She's completely in the middle. If the sides are shooting at each other, she's being left out of it. And if she could just solidify a couple more relationships, I think that she would be like sitting really, really pretty.
Okay. I will give her a 7. Because I agree. I think that she's had such a hurdle to have to get over. And I think that is what has been holding her back for so long. I feel like maybe part of some of the hesitation there is, can you really trust these people? And I mean, even especially when after the leftovers are formed and they still put her ass up, it's like, damn. Like, I know it's to get Nicole out, but it rocks your confidence. So the Taylor curve is still strong for me. So I'll give her a 7.
The audience agrees with you. The audience gave Taylor a 7 as well. And I also agree. I don't think that it is it can be pointed out enough, because I think it's easy to forget that just because, things have shifted in terms of the power structure in the game and Taylor is in a better position because of that, that does not mean that the impact of what happened in the early portion of the game has gone away. Just today, just like an hour ago or so, she was saying to herself, because she's having a tough day, that like, man, I think that like this place has traumatized me more than I realized. And part of that is, hearing all about all of the things that people are still saying about her. Part of that is going into a room with Terrence and Jasmine and them, and Terrence actively just trying to pretend she doesn't exist. Like, it's very clear that they just really dislike her, and it's difficult to, especially like, she thought she was tight with Terrence. She thought he liked her. And so like that is going to, we talked about this a lot with Nicole, from season 21, where like, after her experience in the early portion of that season, we saw a different version of Nicole, one that was a lot more gun shy in the game, and a lot more hesitant to sort of like trust and make moves. I do think that is still having an impact on Taylor, and it is still kind of holding her back, in a way. Despite that, though, I do agree. I think she is in one of the better positions in the game for, at the very least, short-term safety. Her game this week has been pretty good. I like that she's continuing to make these social bonds. I like the connection with Joseph a lot. I think that if that solidified, it would do wonders for her game. She's still in with Michael and Brittany, and she's nowhere near being targeted. The only real concern is she doesn't really have an end game in place, but she should be safe for the end game, unlike other people with no end game. Like I said, with how the leftovers are set up, it's 2v2 with Taylor, Kyle, and Turner in the middle, and that puts Taylor in a really good spot. So she'll have much more time than other players and many more options if she does decide to turn it on or just win a couple of comps down in the end. So I do still like her position. I'm also giving her a 7 this week. Maggie, what do you think?
Straight 7s. After I said all of that to Aman and you were like, I'm going to give her a 7. I wanted to be like, me too. That's what I was going to give her, because I think that, like you said, her positioning is so great. And also, Taryn, thank you so much for pointing that out, because I think that if you're looking week to week, it is really easy for me to say, like, she has all these great relationships. Like, I wish she would just solidify, but then like, you're right. Like, something like what has happened with Terrence, I'm sure is the reason that she's not doing that is because she really thought that her and Terrence were cool. They had many like personal discussions. She would hang out with him a lot. So it makes sense to me that, you know, she would be holding back on that. And you're right that the time that she has, like, I hope that in the next couple weeks, her stock rating only goes up. If I was playing, I would buy her. Just saying.
All right.
I'm not playing, for the record.
Well,
yeah, neither am I.
Let's talk then about Brittany. Let's talk about Brittany. Last week, Brittany got a 6. 6 from the audience. This week, the audience gave her a 6 again. Close to a 7, but it was a 6, which was a huge increase, actually, from last week. She got a 5.54 from the audience, which averaged at a 6. This week, a 6.41. So almost a full point increase, but just within the margin of still landing that 6 from the audience. And personally, I feel fine giving Brittany a 7 here. I like what she's done this week. I like that she continues to think critically. Michael's target increasing is doing, I think, wonders for Brittany's game because nobody can come for Brittany without pissing off Michael. And that means that if you're going to target either of them, you're going to target Michael first. And that's great for Brittany, who has a good relationship with Kyle now, is developing a good relationship with Alyssa now, and has a really good relationship with Taylor. And obviously will not be the first target from the pound if it did somehow come down to 7. So she's kind of in that spot with Michael, except she does not have the urgency that he does to make something happen. But if something does happen, she stands to benefit. And so I like her position there. The biggest issue for Brittany is that, something that she herself has pointed out that, how does she win in the final 2? Who does she sit next to? Can she sit next to Taylor and win? Probably not. Can she sit next to Michael and win? Probably not. And that's kind of tricky because those are the people she wants to go to the end with. And I don't know that she intends to do anything but go to the end with them if given the choice. She doesn't want to have to drag Indy all the way to the end in order to win. And so it seems like she's resigned herself to the idea of whatever, I'm just going to play with my friends and see how it goes. And I do still think there's a chance that she could then pull out a win. If she could win competitions or if she could do well enough, there's a chance she could beat Taylor, especially with some of the anti-Taylor sentiment in the jury. There's probably not as big a chance she beats Michael with his comp record, but there's still plenty of comps to come. And maybe there's a chance that she does get there with somebody like Turner or somebody else that kind of sneaks down there. Not that she easily beats Turner either. I think Turner has a great chance in the end, but I don't think we can count her completely out. I'm not willing to totally limit her rating just because I do feel bad about her final 2 prospects right now because there's a lot of game to be played and jury is just now starting. So for me, she has moved up to the 7. Maggie, what do you think?
This is hard for me. This is harder for me because I feel like Brittany is being a bit underrated by the people in the house also. And these girls just do not like her. They don't like Taylor either, but I do think that if Taylor made it to a final 2 situation, some of the girls would be like, wow, she did that. Everybody was against her and she did that. But I don't think that they would have that same sentiment with Brittany. And, like you said, there's a lot of game left to be played. I think that Brittany, gosh, I don't know. I'm between a 6 and a 7 with her. I want to reward good gameplay, the great gameplay that she's had this week. She's been safe this week, completely safe. Not only was Michael HOH and he would never put her up anyways, but she's his bestie, so she can't be up. My only issue with Brittany is that when she's not in a position of safety, she has not been shown to be great under pressure. And over the past couple weeks, she's been in a strong position of safety. And even last week when, they were fighting over that 3% chance that would have been great for her game for it to flip around, and for Nicole to not go home, you know, she started, I think, to rub people a little bit the wrong way, that she was going so hard on it. And I'm not sure that Brittany, if I gave Taylor and Michael sevens, I'm not sure yet that I can give Brittany a 7 based off of everything that I've seen in the trajectory of her game. So I think I'm going to have to go with a 6, but I hope that she goes up from here. And I hope that this is the lowest score that she gets for the rest of the season from me.
All right, Aman, what are your thoughts?
I agree, Maggie. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Helena, just a touch, because there's like this newfound confidence with her now that she knows that she's safe, and I feel like she is more at liberty to have better game conversations because it's not coming from a place of desperation. But with that being said, like Taryn said earlier, if you are attached to the comp beast of the season, and while he will always be a target ahead of you, you'll always be right under him, darling. And if they can't get him out, they'll be like, let's take out one of his numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know if she is going to be able to handle that. Now, granted, that's all speculation because it hasn't happened yet, but just I can only go based off of how I've seen her behave when she's, like you said, when she's not in power. And I'm not as jazzed about her prospects then. So yeah, I will also give her a 6.
All right.
I think she reminds me, I've said this on a podcast before, she reminds me of Michelle Noonan from Big Brother 11, I think. Like, people didn't respect her at all in the beginning, and then she was able to sort of make her way into in the game, Taryn. Michelle Noonan, as she played the game. No, you don't agree? He hates that analogy. He was like, absolutely not, Maggie. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be the first comparison I'd go to. I think the Helena one was a little better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you do you.
I do think that Helena was a little stronger than Brittany for sure. I don't think it's like a 1-to-1 comparison, but it's the energy that I'm comparing. I think the two of them have similar spirits of, I don't do well with rejection. And that this is not a drag. It's not a drag. It's just what I've been observing. And I feel like people that have issues with that it doesn't manifest itself well in the game of Big Brother. And so if that were to happen to her again, where she is not in a position of power, I worry about how she will handle that. So,
like, I could see her throwing
other more resilient players in the house.
I could see her throwing Michael under the bus, if she had to.
Yeah.
You know, like and for no reason. Like, I could see her just like panicking and like really going for it in a way that we would be like, Brittany, stop. But hopefully not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Turner. How do we feel about Turner this week? Turner is still in one of the best spots in the game. He is in the spot with Kyle where he is in the middle of the leftovers. He stands to benefit no matter what direction they go in. The final 2 with Kyle is pretty fantastic, especially with Kyle kind of being really, really obnoxious lately. That only kind of benefits Turner, who I think would have a decent chance to beat Kyle in a final 2 at this point, depending on how things go. So that's all great. I love Turner's position. The only issue I have with Turner is that he doesn't work very hard to maintain the position, and I don't know what he will do once he reaches a theoretical end game. He's got this thing with Kyle, he's got the pound, but I don't think that's enough. Like, it could be enough. Like, maybe he just, but I mean, by the nature of his position, he should just like cruise to like final 5.
Oop, chopstick!
He should cruise to final 5, at which point he might be in a position where Kyle's there. He might be in a position where like he's in a pretty good spot to move forward from that point, and then, or even just like win a couple of comps and maybe win the whole game. I do think that exists. He's just not a very active player. So I can't guarantee that the things surrounding him will stay the same to keep that path available to him. And if they don't, I don't know that he'll be able to adapt and make sure that he stays on a good path. And so that's my issue with Turner at this point. So it's kind of tricky because I feel like he's just not. It's a good position. It's just not good enough, and I don't know enough of what he wants in the end. So maybe I'm a little low here, given what I'm seeing in the chat. But for me, Turner is still at a 7. Still a 7 for me on Turner. Maggie, how do you feel?
I do think you're a little low. You know, I think Turner's in the best position in the game. I think Taylor is in a similar position as Turner, except Turner has the pound, and Turner is being included in every iteration of Let's Turn on the Leftovers. Turner's included. And I think that Turner is somebody who he's included. If he's there and your number one gets sent out the door, you're going to look right at Turner and be like, me and you know, like, I think that he's somebody who, and I do think that he's shown that he has the capacity to win competitions. And I think that those endgame competitions are the types of things that he's going to be good at. You know, I think that his relationship, if he becomes more active, which he's shown he's capable of, you know, he lost Pooch and then he was able to be in the Leftovers Alliance by winning power, right? I feel like Turner's next huge, like, big bump up is going to be the next time he wins power. So I'm not going to go crazy high, everybody I'm seeing in the chat. Somebody said, come on, Maggie, be fire. I'm going to be as fire as I can be. I'm going to give him an 8, but because I think that if Turner created a final 2 with Taylor, and I think that if Turner solidified a 3 with Michael and Brittany, I think that he would be 9 position for me. There's just a little bit that's making him go below, like you said, Taryn, the fact that he's not as active. I wish he would be a little more active. I think that this twist and this alliance has made everybody in the Leftover sort of sit back on their heels a little bit. Like they went super hard to create the Leftovers, and then they've been able to rest on their laurels a little bit. And I think also the thing about Turner is that, like, people like talking to him. They like hanging out with him. He's fun. That's the thing with the Leftovers overall. They like hanging out with each other. And maybe that's why they're resting on their laurels a little bit, is that they're having fun just hanging out. They like it. So it's not as concerning to them like, oh gosh, we have to lock this in, you know? So that's why I'm going with 8 for Turner.
All right. Aman, what do you think?
Yeah. Aman looks like he's about to do something evil.
Hold on.
Aman looks like he's about to steal your muffin, Taryn.
He would never.
I really enjoyed watching Turner on the feeds this week. Very entertaining. Muffin Gate was delicious. I agree, though. I do think that there is a little bit of a laid-back energy, but we saw the same laid-back energy before he got power, like Maggie said, and then when he got power, he did exactly what he was supposed to do with it. I think he's very savvy. I think he knows the general layout of the house, and I think all it takes is just for another impetus, and he is, you know, he's hitting the ground running. And no one is really coming for him right now. And he had like one of the most effective HOHs, so he should be a big target, but he got away with it. I will give him a 9.
A 9 from Aman.
Wow. Wow, guys. Wow.
And you know, Aman, you brought up something that made me think, I think it's so smart that he's messing with Jasmine and is like, that's who I'm going after. You know, because then that makes everybody else in the alliance be like, oh my God, Turner's going after Jasmine. He's not even looking around at anybody. He's somebody we can pull in. Like, if his biggest concern is Jasmine, he must feel so safe with us, you know? I think that,
and I feel like it's such a nice reprieve from the game for everyone. I feel like it's just like it's just nice to have someone just in there just tormenting someone else in a non-icky way. You know what I mean? He's just messing with food that can easily be replaced. It's not the end of the world. He's not tearing her down or whatever. It's just good old-fashioned fun.
I do really enjoy Turner, and I do like him a lot. I will say, just as a counter to because again, I think I am probably the lowest on Turner here. I do think that like even his HOH reign really wasn't his HOH reign. Like it was like Kyle and Joseph really just kind of told him what to do, and he was like, "All right, yeah, that makes sense." Now I will say the speech he gave, and this is sort of indicative of his game, right? I don't like his game. I'm not like the biggest fan of, but Turner himself, I am a big fan of, and I actually think his personality is better at playing the game than him at playing the game.
Yeah,
because I think the speech he made was so good. And I think that alone, and I've talked about this, I think that alone could give him the respect he needs to win the game, even if he hasn't been a super active player, because he was willing to stand up when nobody else would and give a speech in front of everyone and say, I'm the youngest one here, and I have to tell you guys that this is not okay. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that his playful sort of like messing around with Jasmine also is endearing him to people. And it's like the fact that people like him a lot, I think will do wonders for his game, even though he's not doing a lot strategically. I just would prefer personally that he does do a lot strategically. Now, this is Turner is like the opposite of Michael right now, where like the more things stay the same, the worse things get for Michael. If the more things stay the same, the better things get for Turner, because he's on a good path right now. It's just that I know that he's not going to be doing a lot to maintain that path. And if Kyle tells him to go on a different path, he might just follow.
He might, but he might not need to. You know, that's
true. Yeah.
There's always that. He might not really need to do much. I remember like during the draft when I was, you know, agonizingly slow over what I was going to do about between him and Indy. I remember us talking about how the fact that he was like so just there, but we also made the point to say that was fine given what was going on in the house. And so I know that, you know, us big, super fans and the RHAP community is very big on people that are strategy driven and focused. That's what gets us all going. But that style of game isn't the only winning style. And I feel like if there's anyone that could introduce, a sort of more laid back approach and introduce that into a more like popular, a renaissance, if you will, I think it's Turner. So, yeah.
It's certainly not unheard of that plenty of players like Turner win all the time because the situation just continues and it continues to benefit him. And he is a very likable guy. So, well, I can tell you that even though the chat seems to be against me, the audience at large actually agreed with me. The audience gave Turner a 7. Look at that. Look at that. I see you, audience.
That's fine. That's why I gave him that 9, because I sensed it on the horizon.
It was close. It was close to an 8. It was a 7.43. All right, there we go. Let's move on to Jasmine. Maggie, how do you feel about Jasmine?
I need Jasmine here, okay? I need her here for a little while longer. She makes me laugh at least once a day. She, it was so funny. My friend Sophie, she watches every single podcast. She's a Big Brother super fan. One day we'll see her on the show and she'll win. But she sent the clip of Jasmine during Muffin Gate to me. And I was like, I actually get it. I think if I had been on Slop, I would have been so upset. Like if somebody ate my muffin. And Sophie, this is why she would be a better Big Brother player than me, said, but it's the Big Brother house. Like somebody could take a dump on my head while I was sleeping. And I would be like, that's fine. Like, why are you going to fight with someone about the muffins? But that's why I love Jasmine, because she is going to fight with someone about the muffins. And is Jasmine a good Big Brother player? Absolutely not. She's not at all. And I'm going to give her a 3.
A 3 from Maggie. Aman, what do you think?
Yeah, Jasmine is I'm still laughing at the fact that she took that jar of pickles to bed. That was funny to me. Yeah, she's just she's lost in the sauce. She's lost in the sauce. She doesn't really know what's going on. She doesn't know, what way is up, what way is down. She literally like sprained her ankle. Like she's quite literally bumbling around.
I'm not laughing at her getting hurt. Okay, not at all. She just is perfect to me.
Yeah,
I mean, not perfect, but perfect TV.
I agree. I think and the fact that she's sort of like her name is always tossed out to be like one of the next targets. Taylor wants her out next week. I just don't see her lasting much longer in the game, and even if she were to last, it will be because she's getting dragged. So, I don't know. I feel like I want to give her a 2, but the entertainment factor there, I'll bump it up to a 3 and agree with Maggie.
Well, the audience agrees with the two of you. The audience gave Jasmine a 3. I gotta say, I feel pretty similarly to Jasmine as I do to Terrence. Just like the fact that she's limping around the house and is one of the top 2 targets heading into next week is absurd. In no universe should she be in this position.
It's wild.
She managed to convince Michael to not backdoor Monty by trying to convince him to backdoor Monty. And then thought that she had succeeded. If she had said nothing, Michael would have been much more likely to backdoor Monty.
Like everything she does is wrong. Every single in gameplay, in moving about the house, in every single thing she does, she should be doing the opposite.
I mean, she's literally the physical embodiment of her game. Her game is on a cane.
I gave her a 2.
Oh man.
That's it. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk.
Someone said she's using the damn cane wrong too.
She is.
She was in the pool with the cane. She was in the pool with the cane, you guys. She was in the pool with the cane.
Okay, let's talk about Monty. Aman, what are your thoughts on Monty?
Yeah, Monty. I think he's sort of like, I'm still playing the same game that he came into the house playing. It's just this time, instead of it being post pack, it's the leftovers. I think that he is someone that just, is in a good spot, but at the same time doesn't necessarily always use the information that he has in the best way. And the fact that he was this close to being the target this week too is just doesn't bode well for him. Him being paired with Joseph too is just such a bad look. And I don't necessarily think that he is that aware of just how much danger he was in. And I don't really know what his plan is after this week. Like, what do you want to do? Do you really think you're just going to go after Jasmine, then Indy, then Terrence, or whoever? Like, really? So while he's in a good position, it doesn't really make me that confident. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a 6. Yeah,
A
I'll give him
6 from Amon. Well, the audience gave Monty a 7. They gave Monty a 7. I'm much more with you on this, though, Amon. I mean, this is a week where he said this in the diary room.
Kind of feel like I'm having my muffin and eating it too.
After being put on the block and was potentially the target of his own alliance.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I think the biggest thing for Monty is that once he found out that everyone was pitching for him to leave this week, he has like barely spoken a word to the other side of the house. He is fully like, he brought up in the leftovers meeting last night, he was like, I mean, does it really help us that everyone's targeting me? And they were like, yeah, it does. And he was like, okay. And it's just like, yes, this is helpful for Monty. If he makes it to the final 2, Monty probably beats anybody at this point, except for maybe Michael. There's 0 chance they're going to the final 2 together, though. So that's good, right? The problem is that it's not the final 2 yet. It's the final 11. And there's a lot of game to be played. And Monty is definitely being targeted within his own alliance and outside of the alliance. A lot of people are targeting Monty, and most people don't want to wait until 7 to do it. So that's pretty dangerous. And he's just not really doing anything to counteract it at this point. That said, the events of this week have been pretty good for him overall. The leftovers came together even more solidly. And the fact that Joseph is now running around playing double agent, I think may actually take some of the heat off of him in the long run and turn it on to Joseph, which is really where the heat should be planted. In fact, we've already seen a little bit of rumblings of that, Kyle and Michael have already been kind of talking about, like, what is Joseph doing? And that could really help him out if Joseph has the shot taken at him first. So I don't think he's dead in the water yet. He should still have some time, but of everybody in the leftovers, Monty has the shortest time frame to work with. He needs to get something done fast, and he is doing the least. So it's not great for Monty, and this rating is honestly maybe even a little generous for now, but I think that it could fall fast if things don't change. I did give him the 6. But Maggie, where are you?
Yeah, I'm in the same position. I think that Monty is in one of the worst positions in the house because everybody in the convenience store wants him out. People in the leftovers, if they have their way, would want him out. And I think it's tough. And like you said, he's not talking to anybody else. I'm going to give him a 6 also because he is in the majority alliance. But if these Festy Besties break up next week, I would not be surprised if we saw Monty as the first juror. And I do think that Monty is a good enough player that this is why I'm giving him a 6. I think that Monty's a good enough player that if he found himself on the block or found himself up against someone on the block, he could stay. He could figure out a way to stay. He's not dead in the water if he gets if he's on the block on eviction night. But I think that he's in a lot of danger. So that's why I'm giving him a 6.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Indy. The audience gave Indy a 2. I also gave Indy a 2. There's not a lot to say about Indy because she is widely considered to be a GOAT in the house. Her chances of winning are very low. I would consider a 1 because of that. But again, there's a long way for this. There's a long time for this game to change. But right now, she is the consensus GOAT to take to the end. And even so, nobody plans to take her to the end. So not great. Not great for Indy. Maggie, what do you think?
I was going to give her a 3. You've kind of convinced me, so I'll give her a 2.
Boom.
That sounds right.
Amon,
does it really matter?
Yeah, let's just move on to Joseph. It's a 2 for me too.
There you go. All right, then. Let's talk about Joseph. Okay. So Joseph is an interesting one, and I really had to think hard about this one because there's a lot of things I appreciate about his game. There are a lot of things that I'm worried about for his game. And it all kind of like combines together. And it's like, and it makes me think, okay, short term, I love his position. Long term, I don't love his position. What did he do this week? Some great things, but also maybe not, because I'm not sure where it will go. And so I'm very torn. Joseph doing what he did last night, filling in the leftovers about the whole plan with everything. It felt good, I think, in the moment, but as I've said, it's already started to cause some ripple effects where they're kind of like, oh, wow, Joseph is like really playing the field, huh? And Alyssa has already talked to Michael and already made it pretty clear that she has zero intention of taking Kyle out. I'm a little worried that they're going to start thinking that Joseph is trying to convince them that Alyssa's not with them, when in reality she is. And they may start to feel like they can't trust him because of that, which is really not his fault, because it's really just like that. It's because Jasmine and Terrence genuinely feel like they'll be able to convince Alyssa to vote out Kyle that he's saying this.
Has anyone said that though, Taryn? Has anybody said that, or is that just what you think is going to happen?
This is what I think may happen, because it's basically what happened with Kyle this week, where he had things where he wanted them and then kept pushing, and then because he kept pushing and was proven wrong, it rebounded to the other end of the spectrum. And I'm worried that could also happen with Joseph. And so that's not great. But on the other end of things, I love the connection to Taylor. I think that if that progresses and locks in, I think that would be the key to his whole game. I think that picking up Taylor as somebody that is willing to work with him will absolutely put him in a position to succeed in the game. And I really like that he is active and he is talking with other people. I wish he would just be a little more reluctant to share all of the information with everyone else in the alliance. And I wish that he was in a better position within the alliance. And I think that getting in with Taylor will help with that. So short term, obviously, Joseph is in a great spot because nobody's really going to come for Joseph yet. And they should be going for Monty first at this time. Long term, though, I'm still just a little concerned. I don't see what his path is. He's in the same spot where it's Monty and Joseph versus Michael and Brittany, and that's not a good place for Joseph to be. But unlike Michael and Brittany, he doesn't seem to have any intention of doing anything else, and that's concerning. His best bet at that point, again, is to pick up Taylor and make it Monty, Joseph, and Taylor versus Michael and Brittany, but that's a little wonky because I don't know that Taylor would fully go against them. Maybe she would go against Kyle at that point, but I'm not sure. Where does Monty really fall in that? Because I don't know that Monty is actually with Joseph. I think he's probably more with Kyle. And so things just get a little tricky with his end game, and he doesn't really plan too far ahead in the future. So I really like Joseph. Same with Turner, but for me, Joseph is also at a 7 right now. I'm just too unsure about where he moves forward from here. So that's where I stand on Joseph. But Maggie, what do you think?
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts about Joseph. I totally agree with a lot of what you were saying. The thing about Joseph, though, is his lack of endgame plans are less concerning to me because Joseph can figure it out. Joseph has proven, unlike Brittany, who's proven to sort of melt under pressure, Joseph has proven that under pressure, he can really turn something out and he can make something happen. I think that the issue is that he does need to be under a little bit of pressure to make it happen. I think Joseph needs to pray that Monty is not targeted next week or the week after because he needs that shield in front of him. If Monty goes, I think Joseph is in big trouble. Because I do not think that it's the type of thing where his partner goes and then everybody forgets about him. And his partner, you're right, Monty maybe is more loyal to Kyle, but perception is reality in the Big Brother house. So I think that it's very important for Joseph that Monty sticks around at least a couple more weeks. Otherwise, he's in a much worse spot. I think that he is very capable of gaming all over the place. And I think that he's not going to just be stuck within the leftovers either. I think that this is the issue that a lot of the other people in the leftovers, when the Great Leftovers War happened, are trying to figure out what to do within the leftovers. They have pieces like Alyssa who's outside, but Joseph actually could work with Jazz, could actually work with Indy. He has a greater reach than the other people. So I do think that the 7 is a little low for him. See, his positioning is worse than Taylor's, but I do think that his adaptability and his ability to go after it is better than Taylor's. So I am going to give him an 8 this week.
Yeah, I think my issue is that I don't really see what you see in Joseph right now in terms of the adaptability. In terms of what I've seen from him all season, it's like when pressed, he was able to, you know, get on board with the leftovers and everything. That was after Pooch left, right? And he was able to sort of like push in this new direction. But prior to that, he was just in Oasis, and he was playing for Oasis with Oasis, never had any seemingly intentions of turning on Oasis. And I think that once that blew up, he needed to find something new. He did. And I haven't seen any indication whatsoever that he's willing to use any of these pieces to actually do anything. He always just talks about going to 7 with leftovers.
I'll push back on you in that he is like, the whole thing is that Monty is going to be targeted before him. So I do think that if that happens, if people are going after Monty, and absolutely he could catch a stray and he could leave. But I do think that if people are going after Monty, when people went after Pooch, he was able to pivot. And I think that it would give him the wake-up call that he would need. So I have seen that his ability to do that is there. It might just come in a very dramatic way where he will need to take a big swing in the opposite direction, which I understand why you're like, I wish that.
Yeah, that's just not an 8 for me at that point. If it takes losing that ally, yeah.
Sure. Understood.
See, I would feel, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm in the middle of you two.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would agree more with Taryn, only if he hadn't made that comment yesterday, I think it was, where he was like, I feel like me sort of chilling in the background for a little bit was the better way for me to go. That, to me, means that was all intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm giving him more credit than he deserves, but I don't know. Based off of the way that he moves when he's acting like a rabbit all over the house, I'm like, it seems like you are kicking it into overdrive intentionally. So, was he going to use the tools that he has when he needs to use them?
Also, can he, I think, is my question. Like, who goes with him if he decides to use Jasmine and Indy?
I think he can, because people really like him. And he's
will Monty agree to it? Will Turner agree to it? Will Taylor? Like, that's the question for me.
If they're in trouble, and I do think that he's self-interested enough that he would do it.
I think Monty will. I don't think that Monty really puts up a fight. I think the only people that really would, actively be like, it looks like Joseph's being a little selfish here, would be like Michael, Brittany, maybe Kyle. Is it an 8 or is it a 7? Is it an 8 or a 7? What is it? What is it? What is it? Okay. I think I'm gonna side with Taryn, but it's a very close 8. It's a very high 7 for me. It's a high 7 because I do think that I do think that he knows what he's doing. I think that he's just collecting information, and yes, he's downloading everything that he has to the leftovers, but I think that's what he's supposed to do right now. I think that's what he's supposed to do. Yes, Michael's game might be flashing before his eyes as he sees Joseph laying out the groundwork or whatever, but Joseph ain't winning all these comps like Michael is, so he's still a target ahead of Joseph anyway. But I'm
That's
still a little
fair.
worried.
The compability thing is also fair.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7.
All right. So a 7 from mine. And believe me, like with both Turner and Joseph, I'd love to be wrong here. I would love to see some movement in that direction, but I can say that.
No, I don't know. I think I want to do the 8 now because he just did so much work, and I feel like that has to be reflected. And Ah,
For the
Okay.
record, I'm having so much fun. This has been really fun so far.
it is fun. This is a really crunchy week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him the 8. I'll give him the 8 because I'm just remembering like how I felt when I watched those clips this morning. And that's what I'm gonna go off of. I'm not gonna let Taryn break my soul here. No.
With
No,
logic,
no.
with logic and reasoning, you know.
Well, I can tell you that the audience does agree with the both of you. The audience gave him an 8 as well. So there you go. Look, we'll see. We'll see where it goes here for Joseph. Let's move on then to Alyssa. Maggie, how do you feel about Alyssa?
Ooh, pretty bad. I think that Alyssa, despite people wanting to work with her and wanting to include her in things, is just not great at Big Brother. And I think that she has potential, like we've been saying for the past 5 weeks, like she has potential. But then I'm like, where? Like where? It's like she has like a chance, and then it just like falls through the cracks because she can't follow through with it. And I do think that the issue perhaps is that, like you said, Kyla is not telling her things, so she's saying the wrong things. But like, then work with somebody who will tell you things. Like, figure out a way to make somebody tell you things. You know, why aren't you pushing Kyle more to tell you things? Kyle will do whatever she wants. I'm pretty sure at this point. He is smitten with her if she pushed a little bit harder. And the thing that is disappointing is that she is supposedly a super fan and does know what she should do. I just think the fact that she was so close to solidifying this leftovers adjacent thing, and then she blew it, it's really, really rough for her. So I'm going to have to go with a 3 also.
3 from Maggie. Amon, what do you think?
I mean, when Jasmine is like one of your only sources of information in the game, I mean, I don't really know how well you're going to be able to even have the capacity to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, like she's listening to Jasmine.
Woo! It's bad.
And she's working with Kyle, who's in the best, or she's in a showings with Kyle, who's in the best position in the game. And she's listening to Jasmine.
I do think that she is in a better position than Jasmine. So I feel like I want to give her a 4 because I feel like there's still some room there. And yes, the Kyle thing isn't showing the greatest amount of dividends, but there is still a benefit to having Kyle there. And Kyle almost did so much to sort of like overprotect her this week. So I will give her the 4 because I feel like she's still in a better spot than Jasmine.
Well, the audience agrees with you. The audience also gave Alyssa a 4. And I would also agree with this. In fact, I would consider going even higher if not for just the very current circumstances. I think things are about to move up for Alyssa. I think last night was a temporary dip, and I do think she will be back on track to potentially work with Michael and Brittany moving forward, especially given their recent conversation. So I do think that she's in a considerably better spot than Jasmine, Indy, and Terrence. And I really do, like, I have a hard time blaming her as much for, like, you know, entertaining Jasmine's thoughts because, like, Kyle refuses to give her anything to do. Like, Kyle has that information, and he won't give it to her. That the information, if she knew what she needed to do, I think she would very well do it. And I think that she would be capable of doing it. But Kyle's just so worried about the situation because she gave it. And look, this is the thing about Alyssa having a reputation for being leaky. It's all because she told Kyle things. It's not like she told other people a lot of things. Like the only other thing that like really leaked was the Oasis thing when Pooch was already on his way out the door.
And the indie thing in front of her.
That was barely a thing. That was a Nicole freaking out about nothing thing.
I know, but I think that like for the reason that Kyle's not telling her things is because she's
kept the fact that the dude has kissed her on the lips many times a secret. She constantly says he kisses me on the forehead, on the nose, on the cheeks, everywhere on my face except for my mouth. She's managed, even when drunk, she managed to keep that a secret, and people still don't think that they've kissed. So clearly she can keep a secret.
Oh, girl. Really, though? It's like a half-truth.
What a secret in the game of Big Brother to keep. That's the most important one. You're playing Big
I'm just
Brother.
saying
Make
her
sure you don't tell
reputation
anybody that.
as a leaky faucet, I think, is overblown. Although in a different light, maybe not. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes for Alyssa. Let's move on then to Kyle. Aman, what are your thoughts on Kyle?
Oh man, Kyle, he's doing a lot this week. I think he, like we said in the beginning, he's definitely like not in the worst spot given all of the antics that he was pulling earlier on, but trying to switch things up with this HOH and these nominees. Granted, he was also trying to protect himself. So there were so many people on Twitter that were like, no, just shut up and go with the plan. It's like, well, kid, what the plan involves him going on the block, people. Okay? Like, if you're in the game of Big Brother, you're going to do anything that you can to keep yourself off the block, even if you're in this alliance that is allegedly going to keep you safe. You just never know what can happen. So I'm not going to fault him too much in those attempts. But I don't know, man. He seems to me like he has the potential to spiral out of control, and when this game opens up, once the bestie twist drops, I think he's probably definitely one of the first people to try and take a shot, which might not necessarily be bad, but at the same time, him being in the position with the leftovers right now is really good. So if he does blow it up, what does that do for his game? Because it's not like this army of like Alyssa and Jasmine is like something to really come home to. I don't know. I will give him I will give him a 7.
A 7.
They still feel like he's in a really good spot.
All right, a 7 from Aman. Well, the audience is asking,
am I stupid?
Because they disagree. The audience gave Kyle a 5 this week. A 5.
That low.
The audience. That low. And I will say, it is a tricky one. Kyle is another tricky one for me. Same with Joseph and Turner to a degree, but honestly, even trickier because here's the thing. If you were to ask me who is the front runner to win the game just purely based on their position right now, I would tell you it's Kyle, and it's not close. I would say, yeah, it's Kyle. And then I would say, Turner and Michael are up there. But it's Kyle. And that warrants a higher rating, even though the week didn't really go as planned for him.
But even with like Michael knowing all the bullcrap that he was doing and all that,
I feel like Michael unfortunately doesn't have the relationships and is just as guilty as Kyle with all of those things, and also has no intention of actually working with Monty moving forward. I think that what he could do is like maybe once Monty is gone, go to Joseph and Taylor and say, we got to get Kyle out. But that's only if Kyle still has Alyssa in the game, because otherwise I don't think they're enough of a threat for Joseph to ignore Michael as the threat. He just has Michael is too big of a threat, I think, to be able to pawn off any blame on Kyle. I think everybody would be like, thank you for telling me, Michael, because now I can turn Kyle against you because you're a huge threat in this game. That's personally, that's how I feel like it would go if he tried to throw Kyle under the bus.
I just feel like Kyle is just so damn messy now that is when he tries to, next week, if he tries to take the shot again, I just feel like he's okay. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Well, that's sort of the next point of it, right? I think he's in the best spot, in my opinion, by far. But he has shown a messiness this week that have hints of the previous messiness that he's shown. He's gone from wanting he's the one that put the target on Alyssa in the first place, changed his mind, decided to go in a different direction, finally came to his senses and realized that he should bring Alyssa with him, started to plant the seeds and form an alliance with Michael and Brittany and Alyssa. That's great for his game. Then he takes it a step too far, gets caught up in his own paranoid notions of a potential new cookout alliance, which does not exist. And those ideas get shot right back in his face, damages his relationship with Michael, who's like, after some of those comments, like, I don't know if I feel as bad about cutting Kyle in the future. And does that rebound rubber banding of like last night. He's like, well, I guess I got to take Alyssa out now. Like, it's like he's got these two extremes of like, well, either it's all of them working together in a cookout and I need Alyssa, or I'm all in on leftovers and buy Alyssa. And he can't seem to just like find steady footing anywhere. And he's so messy about it. And he again, like, he could be giving Alyssa the information that she needs so that she can operate in a way that will be appealing to the people in the leftovers. And I've been saying this for weeks, that he should be like, hey, don't worry, Alyssa's on board. She loves you, Monty. She loves you, Joseph. She's totally in with us, Michael and Brittany. Like, he could be doing those things, giving her what to say so that she knows. This is what people do all the time. This is what good players do, is that they get their allies to work together so that they don't have to cut any of their allies and that they get to keep all of their allies. He can't seem to do that. So my faith in him as a player is not that high, but he is still very good at what he does in that he is a very active player. He's an active player in a way that he is social enough with the people outside of the alliance, but focuses heavily strategically within the alliance, which is great for his end game positioning. His short-term positioning is great. It's just, for me, this week's decision making is garbage. And so I would easily give him something like an 8 if he was even just playing like pretty well this week. But I really do feel like he's made some significant errors in this week. And it's not often that I go more than one down from a positional rating just based on decision makings in the week. But this week I do feel like it's warranted. So I'm going to give Kyle a 6 because I really do feel like he should be at least an 8. Really, he should be a 9 or a 10 this week. He should have been able to pull off like some great stuff. But instead, he really blew a lot of his options. I do think that if he lands at a 6, he'll probably be a good buy heading into next week, but we'll see. Maggie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to give Kyle a 6 also. I give Brittany 6 based off of the fact that I have not a ton of faith in her decision making and how good she is under pressure. And Kyle has shown that. Kyle is definitely in a better position than Brittany. But Kyle's options are dwindling in a way where Brittany's are maybe expanding more because of his own decisions, not because of anything that's happened to him. And yeah, I just think that the Big Brother house is getting to him in a way that, you know, sometimes you see happen to these players who start out really well and then the house just gets to them, you know? And I think that's what's happening.
Yep. All right. Well, let's then talk finally about Daniel. How do we feel about Daniel? Well, I can tell you that the audience feels very bad about Daniel. They gave him a 1 this week. Daniel, a 1 from the audience. And I'm gonna have to apologize in advance to the audience and to just to everyone, because I thought about it. Believe me,
Taryn.
I thought about it long and hard, but I can't give Daniel a 1 this week.
Taryn.
I can't.
Taryn.
He didn't do that poorly this week. Last week I gave him a 1 because he was that bad. This week he has 4 people tanking their own games to try and keep him around. He almost survived. It almost was a Monty backdoor, and it was really the fault of those people that screwed him up. It really, like, I try to save those ones for people that really did it to themselves this week. Now, he definitely did it to himself last week.
Exactly.
And the week before.
And all of the weeks before. But I actually feel like he's been sort of like strategically net positive this week. And I can't do it. Look, you two still have the ability to give him a 1 overall. You know, if you guys want to give him a 2 overall, that's on you. I've got to do it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
He gets a 1. Terrible. Bye, Daniel. Bye, Pumpkin. Bye, Daniel. See you never.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Look.
Amon?
Justice is served. Oh, no. Oh, he's getting a 1. He's getting a 1.
I was like,
oh, he's getting a 1. That I don't know.
Walk out of the door.
Yeah. Oh, no. He's getting that 1. It's just been a long time coming for this one. I feel like, we should have known better in week 1 when he was HOH and hardly did anything. And then it just got in bed with the wrong people, and then just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And then on top of that, just his overall behavior in the house has just been really toxic. And I mean, God bless him. I just hope that he, I hope that he's able to, come out of the house and see some of the things that people have to say about him, and he's able to learn. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, it's a 1. It's just not. I mean, I can agree with you, Taryn. I think that there was some room here. Like, I mean, he, especially after he was like, "Oh, just end the season already." Like, I'm glad that he didn't completely give up. There was still some fire there, but I think more likely than not, it was never really going to be a thing for him. He was always going to go. So
yeah, there have been significantly worst final weeks from players in the past. There's definitely plenty of room below how Daniel performed this week. So I just I couldn't do it. But I understand. Believe me, I'm happy he got a 1 overall.
Have you guys seen that meme that people keep posting of like the Elvis movie when Elvis is like the end when he's like sweaty like off stage? People keep posting that, which would be like Daniel watching from home next week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's savage. Like
he said he's not gonna watch. He said he's gonna. Oh wait, no. He said he's gonna watch He's not gonna watch the feeds, but he's gonna watch the episodes. And the first thing he's gonna do is go see Redacted when he gets out of the house. Which I'm like, why? Don't you have like actual friends and family that you'd rather see over? Okay, well, you know what? Whatever.
Whatever, indeed. All right, that then is the stock watch for the week. Let's take a look at what that has done to the leaderboard. Let's take a little look over here at the leaderboard. Here we go. We do have a new first place. Here we go. Oh, never mind. That's a glitch. We still have a new first place. Tied for first is Red and Alex. Here we go. It's moved up from second place. Red and Alex were both tied for second last week, and they have now moved into first place. And I believe Darrell, who was in first place, has moved down 3 spots to fourth place, despite being in on Turner. I believe the one Terrence stock has actually moved Daryl down below Red and Alex. I think that was the one thing that pushed him above them last time, but now has dragged him below. So there you go. For we've got a fight up here at the top of the leaderboard. Let's see what happened to me. Let's take a look. I am doing okay here. Up 12 spots, 43rd overall. I went in on Turner. Turner, I think was probably, he must be the best buy because all of these people are in on Turner. Sometimes it happens that way. Amon, I don't think you're playing.
I am not playing.
And Maggie isn't either. So we have nothing to update
guys. There. Sorry.
But we can take a look at what happened with Melissa. She stayed in on, I don't know let's see. What did she do last week? Hold on. I don't want to move the page just in case it starts loading forever. She was in on Kyle mostly. A little bit of Turner. She moved down 300 places. So
sorry, Melissa.
That's not great.
300 places.
I think that she would agree with me on my rating for Kyle, though.
The 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's Melissa should make a tweet that scrutinizes Maggie's ratings.
Well, I'll never see it.
All right, then. There you go. That is that's the stock watch for the week. Of course, you can go to realitystockwatch.com if you want to play along at home. You can make decisions on the players that you think that you want to invest in. I think I'm right here, right? Turner was the best buy here, going up to an 8. Look, sometimes I disagree with how things go, but it benefits me anyway. So what are you going to do? So Turner's been some good buying lately, but we'll see if it sticks that way. All right. That's the stock watch. Any final thoughts on the week before we wrap this up? Maggie, what do you think?
There's just so many little things to talk about, like this way or that way, what could happen. I'm excited for when the twist is over and things sort of break apart. I mean, I'll be sad because I love the Leftovers as an alliance. Like, I'm just loving them and I don't want them to break up, even though I do know it's almost time. It's getting to be about that time. But I've just been having a really great time watching the show, and I had a really great time tonight. Thanks for having me.
All right, Amon, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I echo everything Maggie said. I'm having a wonderful time. I really am. I just feel like ever since Beyonce's album dropped, the world has just been healing. And that is no different for this season of Big Brother. It has just been such a massive turnaround. Puya, start picking out them flavors, buddy. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Because it's not looking good.
The chapstick is coming. Do we have a chapstick like doomsday clock that we can get going?
I will. Yes. To just have like a little widget at like the top of like the screen from now on. Just put it right there.
Yeah, every week that Turner stays in the game, the clock ticks down one more minute. All right. Well, that's what we have for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's Roundtable podcast. Lots to talk about, lots to work through here. Some interesting directions the game could go in. I would say, again, for me, you probably noticed, still a lot of similar ratings for all of the Leftovers because there's been some small amounts of prepping for when they turn on each other, but it's still just wide open for when it actually happens. And so, people on the outside of the Leftovers are screwed right now. And the people inside of the Leftovers are just waiting for like, where does that bomb drop and who gets hit first? So we'll have to wait and see on all of that. But for now, that's what we have. You can, of course, find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, hanging out, watching the episodes live with all of you, also talking through all kinds of Big Brother stuff watching the feeds, talking through the stock watch. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on where things might go next week, you can find all that over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Also, make sure you check out the YouTube channel that I've got going on, Taran Armstrong on YouTube, dropping some Among Us videos featuring Maggie, Aman, myself. We have some fun in those. And I also dropped recently the Big Brother Canada 10 Soundbite Tournament over on YouTube. So you can check that out. There'll be a new Among Us video tomorrow. It's a very fun one, so make sure you check it out then. And you can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. You can always fill out the survey for the roundtable. You can find that on Twitter. Maggie, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at @MLMorgan_.
All right. And Aman?
You can find me everywhere at Aman Adwin. I will be returning to Twitch to do more Harry Potter. We're going to pick right back up with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So if you'd like to come chill with me on Monday nights as I read you to sleep, I will be there.
All right. And of course, you can find Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's, even though you couldn't find her here. Wait, what? Is Melissa?
Is she here?
Oh my God, Melissa. Oh no, she's not here. Never mind.
Oh, wow.
I got excited.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. And I will see all of you next time.
I mean, they're lost.